They had no room for me for years. Now I have a house, and guess who's begging? There's no room for you. That's what my family used to tell me every holiday season, year after year. Funny thing, though, there always seemed to be plenty of space for my sister and her crew. I never raised a fuss. Just bit my tongue and kept showing up. But this year was different. I'd just closed on a house down in Florida, and the second they heard, their tune changed. "We've packed our bags," they said. Well, my response? Let's just say it knocked the wind out of them. But before I dive into all that, let me say this, I've noticed the channel's been slowing down a bit lately. If you're here and you like these stories, hitting that subscribe button is the easiest way to show support. It's fast, it's free, and it really helps keep this community growing strong. Hey, Reddit. You know, I used to believe that staying quiet was a kind of strength. That biting my tongue and keeping the peace, especially with family, was the grown-up thing to do. But after a while, that silence stopped feeling strong. It started feeling like I was invisible. Like I didn't even exist when it came to Christmas, Thanksgiving, or even those loud, smoky 4th of July barbecues. There's no room for you. They'd say it like I was some weird extra item off the specials menu, something that didn't quite fit the family recipe. Back then, I'd drive all the way from Atlanta to Tennessee. Car packed with gifts, warm pies, riding shotgun in the passenger seat. But no matter how cheerful I felt walking in, the moment they saw me, the smiles would dim just a little. My sister, Amber, would already be there, her 3 kids running wild, tearing the place apart. Her husband kicked back on the couch, beer in hand before noon even hit. And like clockwork, there was always space for them. But me? One year, I got the couch. Another time, it was a blow-up mattress shoved out in the garage. Eventually, they stopped pretending. Sorry, hon, there's just no room this year. You know how it is with Lee and the kids. It wasn't just where I slept. It was everything. The way they talk over me at the dinner table. How my job in publishing was barely worth a nod, while Amber's life as a perfect stay-at-home mom was treated like she'd cured cancer. They always called her husband by his name. But any guy I brought around? He was either that man or what's his name. One Thanksgiving, I didn't even bother going. Ended up in some cheap motel. Watched the Macy's parade alone, munching on vending machine Cheez-Its. I called Mom just to say happy holidays. She didn't pick up. I could have let it all out right then, but I didn't. I swallowed it down. Until July came around. It was Dad's 70th, some big family blowout reunion. I wasn't invited, but I went anyway. I guess a part of me hoped they'd be surprised. Maybe even glad to see me. What I got instead was Amber whispering to Mom behind the fridge door and Dad offering me one of those tight smiles that didn't reach his eyes. "We really weren't expecting you." That's all he said. I left before the cake was even sliced. I didn't cry on the way home, just cranked up the volume on some angry rock and convinced myself I didn't need any of them. But something broke inside me that day. The next morning, I opened Zillow and started browsing. Not just for a place to live, but for a place to start over. I was hunting for homes in Florida, ones with open-concept kitchens, sparkling pools, and 4 bedrooms. Big houses. The kind of houses where I could host the holidays. Make my own memories on my own terms. At first, it felt kind of petty, like I was doing it just to prove a point. But you know what? That was the point. By December, I was standing in the entryway of my new place just outside Naples. Champagne in one hand, stupid grin on my face. It wasn't just a home, it was my line in the sand. Christmas came and went. I didn't call them. And surprise, surprise, they didn't call me either. Then February rolled around, and I posted a few photos online, shots of the backyard pool, the tall palms swaying, the double ovens in the sleek kitchen. Nothing too flashy. Just a simple caption. New chapter. New home. New peace. 2 hours later, Amber commented. "So beautiful. Florida, wow." And 2 days after that, my phone rang. It was Mom. "Your sister showed me the pictures. Honey, that house is stunning. Are you thinking about hosting Easter this year?" I didn't say anything right away. Just let the silence stretch out. I think that made her nervous. "Well," she added, "your dad and I were thinking of taking a little trip. It's been so cold here. Your sister and the kids are on spring break that week." And just like that, bags were packed. After all those years of being brushed aside, suddenly I had something they wanted. Suddenly, there was room for them. I didn't give her an answer right away. Told her I'd think about it. That night, I sat out on the back porch with a glass of red wine. The Florida air was warm against my skin. I thought about every cheap motel room, every call she didn't return, every time I clenched my jaw and smiled while they raved about Amber's potato salad like it was straight from the gates of heaven. This time, I wasn't going to stay quiet. The very next morning, I picked up the phone and called her back. "Mom," I said, "I'm really glad you reached out. But here's the thing, I've decided to do something different this year." There was a beat of silence on the line before she asked, "Different how?" Her voice had that slight edge to it, like she already knew she wouldn't like the answer. "I'm taking a trip," I said. "Just me. No guests, no family. Just some peace and quiet for once." She paused again. "Oh, well, I just thought since you finally had the space. That's funny, I cut in because for years I didn't. And nobody ever seemed to find a way to make space for me back then. She didn't say a word, so I kept going. I've always been the afterthought mom. The one without kids. The one who got skipped over when y'all went around the table for blessings. Maybe you never noticed, or maybe you just didn't care. But I did. I noticed every single time. And now that I've got something you want, warm weather, open space, a comfy house, you suddenly remember I exist? Her voice dropped to a whisper. That's not fair. Neither was Thanksgiving in a Motel 6, I replied, flat as a board. She hung up. And no, I didn't feel proud or triumphant. I didn't feel cold or cruel. What I felt was something else free. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't carrying their silence like a weight on my back. I stopped posting on social media after that. Let the silence speak for itself. Only this time, it wasn't out of defeat. It was about control. Weeks slipped by. Easter came and went. I grilled some shrimp out by the pool, read 3 whole books cover to cover. No screaming kids. No awkward small talk. No pretending I didn't notice being ignored. Just peace. But they weren't done, not by a long shot. Last week, Amber called. Hey, she said, all casual like we'd spoken yesterday. The kids have summer break coming up and they'd love to see their auntie. Mind if we crash for a few days? Crash. Like my home was some roadside motel. Like I was running an Airbnb she forgot to book. She sent a photo right after, a beach emoji and a shot of the kids in colorful swimsuits, floaties snug around their arms, like they were already halfway down I-75. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at that picture. It was almost funny, their toothy grins, their goofy swim gear, it looked like a travel ad for chaos. I could tell she thought it would tug at my heart. That their little faces would melt whatever was left of the ice between us. But this wasn't about the kids. It was about me. It was about all the years I was left out, brushed aside, overlooked like a dish no one wanted to try. I remembered one Christmas in particular, I'd offered to bring a homemade pie. And Mom, with that gentle condescension, said, "Oh, don't worry, honey. Amber already made 3. They never wanted my pie. They never wanted me. And now? Now they wanted to swim in my pool. To crash at my house. Not visit. Not spend time. Crash as if my home was just a pit stop, not a place worth arriving at. As if I was finally worth remembering, but only because I had something they could use. That's when I opened my phone and started typing the message that had been sitting in my heart for years. Hey, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I need to be honest. For years, I was told there was no room. And it wasn't just about couches or beds, it was emotional too. I was left out, pushed aside. I stayed quiet because I thought that made me strong, but I've realized now my silence wasn't strength. It was comfort. Your comfort. You got used to me being the one who adjusted. The one who swallowed the cold shoulder with a polite smile. Well, not anymore. This house is my peace. And it's not open to people who only remember I exist when the sun's out and the beaches are calling. I'm not mad. I'm not bitter. I'm just done. Enjoy your summer. I sure will. I stared at that message for a moment. Then I hit send. And just like that, I took something back I didn't even realize had been stolen, my self-worth. It wasn't some big Hollywood moment. The sky didn't open. The ground didn't shake. But in the quiet click of that send button, something inside me shifted. The woman who used to drive 12 hours just to hear, "There's no space for you." She finally spoke up. I shut off my phone, and I lived. Next morning, 18 missed calls. A string of texts. 3 of them were from Mom. "This isn't like you. You're overreacting. You're hurting the family." Then came a message from Amber's husband, the one who once joked that I should be grateful just to be invited. His text read, "Real classy. Using your house to play games. What happened to family loyalty?" That one actually made me laugh out loud. Loyalty? Where was loyalty when I spent Christmas Eve alone in a Motel 6? Where was it when I mailed birthday cards to my niece and nephew and never even got a crayon drawn, thank you? Where was loyalty when I stood in their kitchen at Dad's 70th, holding a bottle of wine like a peace offering, while they looked at me like I'd wandered in from the wrong movie? It had never been about loyalty. It was about leverage. And now that I had something they wanted, sunshine, space, comfort, they were scrambling to slide me back into the family photo like I'd been there all along. I didn't respond. I went for a walk instead. The Florida air clung to my skin, thick with heat and jasmine. I passed neighbors who waved at me like I belonged. And that's what hit me. Here, I actually did. 2 weeks later, I opened my mailbox and found something unexpected. A handwritten letter from Mom. Not a text, not an email, an actual letter, like it was 1997 and she was trying to win me back after a high school breakup. It started with "Dear Sweetheart." Not my name. Just, Sweetheart. 3 pages, front and back. Each line soaked in nostalgia and guilt dressed up as concern. She wrote about how families drift apart. How everyone got busy. How they assumed I was always okay because I seemed strong. She brought up the matching Easter dresses we wore when I was 5. The time I broke my arm and Amber supposedly cried harder than I did. The message was clear underneath it all. You're not really mad. You're just being emotional. So come back. Come back and be the good daughter again. At the very end, she wrote, we just want things to go back to the way they were. I folded the letter and stared out the window for a long time. The way they were? Like when I was 13 and they left me at a neighbor's house on Christmas because Amber's toddler had the sniffles and needed the guest room. Or when I was 22 and brought my boyfriend home for Thanksgiving and Dad spent 3 days calling him what's his face. Or maybe when I was 34 and got promoted to senior editor and not a single one of them sent a card or picked up the phone. Yeah, no thanks. I didn't write back. But I didn't throw the letter away either. I tucked it in a drawer not because it meant something sweet, but because it reminded me of just how far I'd come. Of all I'd outgrown. When summer arrived, I threw my own kind of gathering. No family, just friends, real ones. My neighbor Colleen brought a platter of what she called fresh savagery, the spiciest deviled eggs I'd ever tasted. A guy I'd met at the bookstore came by with his guitar and played songs until the sun dipped below the palm trees. We sipped drinks, made up stories about the stars, and laughed until our cheeks hurt. At one point, Colleen leaned over and said, "You've built something really beautiful here." And I believed her. Not just about the house. About the life inside it. By the time fall crept in, Amber's texts had shifted in tone. She wasn't mad anymore. She was sweet. Trying again. "Hey, the kids really miss you. Want to FaceTime?" A few days later. "We'd love to come down for Thanksgiving, if that's okay." She ended it with a heart emoji. Like that was supposed to erase everything. This time, I didn't type a word. I sent a postcard. A photo I'd taken of my front door. Right above the mat was the wooden sign my friend had given me for my birthday. It read, "This house makes room for love, not guilt." No message. No name. Just that. I dropped it in the mailbox with a small, content smile. Thanksgiving came. I cooked for two friends from my writing group and a woman from the dog park who brought along her jittery poodle and 2 bottles of wine. We laughed, swapped stories, and watched cheesy Hallmark movies until midnight. It was the best Thanksgiving I'd ever had. No one rolled their eyes when I spoke. No one cut me off or said, "You're being sensitive." I wasn't the girl with her nose pressed up against the window anymore, watching the feast from outside. I had my own table now. Then came Christmas. Then New Year's. More messages from Mom. More guilt-laced niceties. More "we miss you" texts. But never an apology. Never any real acknowledgement. Just attempts to reel me back into a role I'd finally set down, the quiet daughter who asked for so little, they forgot to give her anything at all. I didn't reply. Because now? This silence, it wasn't hollow. It was full. Full of my own life. My own rules. My own peace. Because for the first time in my entire life, I had everything I needed. There is room. Room for joy. Room for peace. Room for me.